Imagine helping a stranger in a moment of kindness, only to discover later that this very person would hold the power to change your entire future. That's exactly what happened when an ordinary young man rushed to help a woman whose dress had torn in public, never realizing she was his soon-to-be boss. Stay with me until the end of this story, because the twist will leave you stunned. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heart-touching stories you'll never forget. It was a busy afternoon in the heart of the city, the kind of day when the streets hummed with footsteps, conversations, and the endless rush of people who all seemed to be chasing something. Among them was Daniel, a 26-year-old man with tired eyes but a hopeful heart, hurrying from one part-time shift to another. Life had not been easy for him. Between supporting his younger sister through college, paying the bills, and working long hours at different jobs, Daniel often felt stretched thin, but he carried himself with quiet determination. He believed in kindness, small acts of humanity, and the idea that every day could hold something extraordinary, even when it didn't seem like it. That afternoon, as he crossed the plaza near the city library, something unusual caught his eye. A young woman, no older than 24, stood frozen in place near the fountain, her face pale with embarrassment. Her elegant cream-colored dress had caught on a jagged piece of the metal bench, leaving a visible tear along the seam at the side. She glanced around helplessly as strangers passed by, some sneaking curious looks but no one stopping to help. Daniel slowed, his steps faltering as he noticed the way her hands trembled slightly, holding the fabric to cover herself. He saw the redness in her cheeks, the way she wished the ground would swallow her whole. And in that moment, he knew he couldn't just walk away. Without hesitation, he approached her gently, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me," he said softly, keeping his voice calm and kind, "I noticed you need a little help. I'm good with fixing things, maybe I can do something for your dress until you get home?" The young woman looked at him with wide eyes, a mixture of relief and uncertainty. She was tall, graceful, with long dark hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders, and eyes that carried both intelligence and warmth. There was something about her presence that felt refined, almost like she didn't belong to the ordinary rush of the city streets, but she didn't seem arrogant, just vulnerable in that moment. I don't know," she stammered, clearly embarrassed. "It's torn pretty badly. I don't want to draw more attention." Daniel gave her a reassuring smile, one that made people instantly feel at ease. "Don't worry, I've got a small sewing kit in my bag," he explained, patting the worn backpack slung over his shoulder. "It's something I always carry. You'd be surprised how many times it saved me on the job." She hesitated, then nodded slightly, realizing she had little choice and trusting the sincerity in his voice. Daniel guided her discreetly to a quieter corner near the edge of the plaza, where fewer people would notice. Carefully, and with genuine respect, he crouched beside her and began working on the torn seam, his hands steady and precise. He avoided her gaze at first, focusing on the stitches, not wanting her to feel uncomfortable. But after a while, she spoke. "You're very kind. Most people would have just walked past me." Daniel chuckled softly without looking up. "I guess I don't know how to ignore someone in need. Life's already tough enough. We should make it easier for each other whenever we can." Her eyes lingered on him, studying the way his expression carried honesty, the way he seemed so different from the people she usually met in her world. There was nothing polished or pretentious about him, just a man doing his best and helping a stranger without expecting anything in return. "Do you always carry a sewing kit?" she asked with a small smile, her embarrassment slowly fading. "Yes," Daniel grinned, finally glancing up at her, "you could say it's my secret superpower. Comes in handy when you're working double shifts at a diner and your apron strap breaks, or when your sister's favorite bag rips the night before an important interview." There was a light in his eyes as he spoke of his sister, a mix of love and responsibility, and she felt an unexpected warmth in her chest listening to him. "You're really something," she murmured, almost to herself, but Daniel caught it and laughed. "I'm just me. Nothing special, trust me." Little did he know how wrong he was. When he finished, the dress looked nearly as good as new, the stitches neat and secure. She looked down at the repair, visibly relieved, and then back at him with gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you. I don't even know your name," she said. Daniel wiped his hands on a napkin and stood up, offering his hand with a friendly smile. "Daniel." She shook it gently, her touch soft yet confident. "I'm Clara," she replied. For a moment, their eyes met and held, as if the world around them had briefly quieted. Clara wanted to say more, maybe offer him something for his kindness, but before she could, her phone buzzed insistently in her bag. She checked it quickly, her expression shifting as she realized she was late for an important meeting. "I'm so sorry, I have to go," she said hurriedly, gathering herself. "But truly, Daniel, thank you. You saved me from a disaster." Daniel shrugged, though his smile was warm. "No need to thank me. Just, pay it forward someday." Clara's lips curved into a thoughtful smile at his words before she rushed off, disappearing into the crowd. Daniel watched her leave, a faint sense of wonder lingering in his chest. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, but he didn't dwell on it. To him, it was just another ordinary day, another act of kindness. He had no idea that the woman whose dress he had mended was far from ordinary, and that their paths were destined to cross again in a way that would change his life forever. That night, Clara sat in her luxurious apartment, the city skyline glittering beyond her tall windows. She replayed the afternoon in her mind, the face of the kind stranger who had helped her when she felt most vulnerable. She thought about his steady hands, his genuine words, and the humility in his demeanor. In her world of high-powered meetings and calculated business moves, people rarely showed such raw kindness without expecting something in return. And yet, Daniel had. Clara leaned back against her chair, her mind already swirling with thoughts of the next day. She had just been appointed as the new CEO of a rapidly growing company, one that had been searching for the right balance between ambition and humanity. Tomorrow would be her first official day stepping into that role, a role that came with pressure, responsibility, and countless decisions. Little did she know, fate had already placed Daniel in her story, and their lives were on a collision course. As Daniel closed his eyes that night in his small, worn apartment, exhausted from his shifts, he thought only of how he would manage the rent this month and whether his sister would do well on her upcoming exams. He drifted to sleep without any idea that the stranger he had helped would soon walk into his world not as a woman in need, but as his future boss, the one who would not only challenge his life but also change it in ways he never imagined. The next morning, Daniel walked into his new job at a corporate office, hoping this opportunity would finally give him stability. As he entered the conference room for orientation, his breath caught in his throat. There she was. Clara, dressed in a sleek navy suit, her confidence radiating as she stood at the head of the table. "Good morning," she said warmly, her eyes locking with his in recognition. "I'm Clara Bennett, your new CEO." Daniel froze, stunned, while Clara's lips curved into a knowing smile. No one else in the room understood the silent exchange between them. She remembered every stitch of kindness he had given, and in that moment, Daniel realized his life was about to change. What began as a simple act of compassion was now the start of a story neither of them would ever forget. Sparkles, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more inspiring stories.